Good to go. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Pownell Select Board Public Hearing on the Old Town Hall, April 5th, 2025 at 3 p.m. To call the meeting to order, board member roll call.
Carl Strohmeyer,
Jeannie Alexander.
Mike Gardner,
Jamie Percy.
rise for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to open up the public comment discussion section. And I am,
I give you two different versions of the comments.
yeah,
Many people that submitted comments sent them through email, so I gave you the.
I see that.
If you want to read them from the email or the survey comments, if you want to do that.
The email comments are on this one particular page, then I'm gonna go with one and get rid of the other three. Thank you.
It's a little confusing because of the way it's broken up.
Yep, that's fine. That's fine.
Tara, did you get one from Ginny Dewar again? I missed. Okay, good. So I'll do that. Okay.
Want to give
Yep,
up
that one's in here.
people that are here first?
No, I'm gonna read didn't we do these comments first last time?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
trying to
okay.
stay consistent.
Okay,
And then I'm going to open the floor to, or open the comments to,
the floor.
the people that are here in the building, and then we'll go to the Zoom.
I'll wait and see if some of the ones people you're reading off are the ones I got in
Yep.
email also.
And I apologize if I messed this name up. Please don't crucify me. Julie Fops, live in Pownell, yes. Sell it, tear it down. Taxpayers should not have to contribute a dime towards any future plans for this old building. Get rid of it. Jenny Dewar, live in Pownell, yes. I believe it should be sold or removed. The job of the municipality is not to run a not-for-profit visitor center, community center, et cetera. Scheduling, managing, cleaning, et cetera. It takes time and organization, and we do not have the capacity to have a town staff member take care of that in a whole separate space from where they work. The seniors should be able to gather at the new town hall, especially on Tuesday mornings when they meet early. If a private individual or entity wants to house a not-for-profit, great. They can search for the grants to do the work necessary to make it habitable, including an ADA compliant bathroom and a kitchen and whatever else they want. As far as community center queries to the town office, they should be automatically referred to the library as they are working to build on their mission to provide that kind of space. The taxpayers support the library, so this is an obvious relationship that should be nurtured. Bottom line, the town needs to let go of the old town office. Becky Levine, yes, Pownell resident. Demolish it. It wasn't safe for the town workers to be in it and was going to cost too much money for it to be fixed. Why should it be safe for anyone else then? It's not. Michelle Peckrell, lives in Pownell, yes. I watched last night's hearing on the Old Town Hall and want to share some of my thoughts to be read at Saturday's hearing. Like many others in this current state of the world, I am finding myself not wanting to have more of my taxpayer dollars go towards expansion of local government, especially for a project that there is no proven need for. I remember back when we were discussing this in the summer of 2023, and I asked about the grant that was procured for putting in a kitchenette. I remember commenting that this kind of grant seeking and project work was putting the cart before the horse. I still sense the desire of some to make a community center out of this small dilapidated building. However, what I have still not seen are any true feasibility studies for this scale of a project. Local estimates done without consideration of state and federal requirements for municipally owned buildings are not accurate or representative estimates. Usually government projects cost far more and come with ongoing costs that the taxpayers will be on the hook for years to come. We have such a small population with about a quarter of our taxpayers already unable to afford their taxes as it stands. Why are we even spending any time or resources on creating another meeting space in Pownell, a town full of meeting spaces like the library, the Legion, churches, etc.? Regarding the argument that this is a historical building, I have always understood that only the front of the building was possibly historical. If the town is highly motivated to keep the building, and keep is capitalized, because of its historical value, then I suggest tearing down the back portion of the building, turn that into overflow parking or a small green space with benches. Let the Pownell Historical Society keep the small front portion of the building as a place to display artifacts, create exhibits. Perhaps the church would also have some interesting artifacts to display there. Could also be a place that has flyers for local information and attractions. This kind of small and manageable project would actually do more to preserve the building as a historical building, and people could come and view the exhibits for a donation entry fee, which could help recoup the small cost of maintaining that front section. However, I want to challenge the idea that just because something is historical means the government should only manage it. If the government was the best choice for managing, preserving, and maintaining historical buildings, then historical buildings all over New England, such as homes, old churches, old town halls, barns, old storefronts, would all be seized by the government for their protection. However, if you look at historical districts and structures throughout the region, you'll see that most of them are privately owned and maintained. In fact, privately owned historical structures are far more likely to be well kept and preserved. Think about it. When a government owns a historical building, it takes legislative consensus and taxpayer approval to maintain and to fund the programming that happens inside. As you know, this is usually quite slow and inefficient. However, when a private person or entity owns a historical building, they are personally and individually motivated to maintain their investment. This would also open up the possibility for the space to bring economic development, such as a small coffee or ice cream shop. The building could be sold with the requirement that the front portion be preserved in any building project. I have heard a lot of conjecture over the past year and a half that the building can't be sold. However, here's my question. Have you actually gone to the town lawyer and asked point blank what needs to be done to sell this building? If that is what we choose to do, I would love to see a communication with the lawyer with that simple question and his answer. I urge you to speak to the lawyer directly in this way and then to share his answers without the insertion of the idea that town must keep it. Even if you do end up keeping it, at least you would have thoroughly and transparently evaluated all possibilities, all is capitalized, without bias or preference for one idea, which is how it appears now. I think this is way overdue. Lastly, regarding the use of the schoolhouse portion of the new town hall as a community space, I heard the staff say that it is disruptive to town operations. I don't know how anyone would know if this is disruptive as it has never been tried. I like what Jenny said. The building doesn't belong to the staff. It belongs to the town. The new town hall has offices with locking doors and cabinets where sensitive documents can be secured. The schoolhouse and town offices are separated by a spacious breezeway. Jenny also had a good suggestion that if noise is a concern, that acoustical treatment could be done to address that. Someone who works in large-scale music events, I can assure you that this is easily achievable. I heard new select board member Jeannie say that she spoke with the seniors who are very interested in using the space once a week in the morning. I don't understand how something like this would be disruptive at all. They would be in the schoolhouse only coming out to use the restroom. I suggest this for the next year, give it a trial run, define and offer the schoolhouse as available for community meetings, not events such as parties I could see being a disruption possibly. Take advantage of the space that as it exists now over the next year and actually see how many people realistically want to use the space. During this time, you will be able to assess when and how this would work and then offer the space to them with strong policies about care of the space, use agreements defining where they are allowed to go and not go, what activities are allowed and disallowed, etc. Most agency and groups like PAVE, Brock, and the seniors would likely want to meet during weekday business hours. 4-H could meet there after school if they need a space. After a year of trying this, you will see how disruptive it is or isn't. You will also be able to determine if there is a true need for this kind of dedicated meeting space. If after that year, you have filled that space and it becomes used consistently and is a burden to town operations, then you will have proven the need. Proven the need is capital. It would be a much easier sell at that point. It's also highly likely you will discover you can do all of these things in the schoolhouse without much issue as originally intended. Thank you for holding a public hearing on this. I hope that you will continue to seek this kind of input from taxpayers regarding other issues as well. One thing that Bennington does that you might want to imitate is to have regular select board listening sessions. If you did one of these monthly or bi-monthly at a variety of different times to accommodate as many people as possible, you might find more willing and open conversation with Pownell citizens. I also want to say that just because people have different ideas about what should happen in town, it doesn't make some people stupid or lacking pride. I hope you will make a point of emphasizing that so that all people feel welcome to express their opinions no matter what they are. We all live here together and all of our voices are valuable and essential to our community. Bob Jarvis, Pownell resident, yes. The town should sell the building. This was always the plan from the beginning of our work on the new town hall and part of how we sold it to the public. We promised that the town would be unburdened of the old town hall and that justified the cost of the new. Trying to put a community center in that building is repetitive to other facilities in the town and would be an ever increasing burden to taxpayers. If after real and definitive research, we find that the building can't be sold, then I believe the church and Old Town office should be relinquished to the church. It is disappointing that 1.5 years in, we still haven't asked or determined what is needed to sell. Conversations so far on this topic have been presented with certain options, selling as being impossible rather than a good faith effort to increase available options. This can be seen in the flyer created to mark these hearings, listing key factors that are likely non-issues. I hope there isn't an effort to solicit support for what the select board and town staff prefer, rather than transparently soliciting all possible ideas for evaluation. I trust that this survey will start conversations and not be used as a vote to move forward with any specific idea. Is that,
You got mine covered.
okay, any other board member have anything from anybody? Okay, I have read all survey, entries since Thursday night, I believe.
Yep.
I will open this public hearing to discussion on the floor within the building. Pauline, will you just state your name, please? I'm sorry, just so, and you're more than welcome to come up, anybody is, but I would just like to have your name stated, so that people in the audience out there know who's talking.
Pauline Gumbo, resident of Powell. Anyway, I believe the building should be sold, and it should be sold within a certain time frame, and that very specific agreement should be attached to it, like whoever purchases it must do X, Y, Z to make it come up to standard and to keep this whole area looking neat. And if in fact the building is not sold within a specific time frame, then maybe it's offered again for someone to take at least the front part and move it and save it. And but it should definitely not be on our tax base. And that was the agreement, or that's what, as a former member of the Historical Society, that's what we told everybody. That's what we said. That's what we believe the selectmen were in agreement with at the time that we proposed this new town. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline.
One thing, Joel Burrington, resident. The reason for the new town hall basically was for the health of the employees that were in there 40+ hours a week. As far as the mold goes, I think they remediated a lot of it anyhow, cleared it out. I think we should keep it. I think we're going in a good direction for a community space, somewhere people can come in and get the flyers for BRAC or whatever numbers for this and that. It is part of the green. It's a historical building, been around a long time. I don't see any reason to, you shouldn't keep it and maybe do something. I think the seniors, I think, kind of miss doing the hot dogs and stuff for voting. Maybe they could do something up there. We get our steps in going up through. I don't know, that's my idea. I hate to see it torn down or moved or whatever. Been here a long time.
Thanks, Joel.
Ruth Basso, I live in Pownell on South String Road. I will just start by saying that I'm a little bit out of the loop, as they say on this discussion. I actually don't except for these two people who've spoken in the emails, I don't actually know how other people feel about this issue, but I feel quite strongly that it is an important part of Pownell's history. This is our village, this is our town, that's our town hall. This will never be our town hall, I don't think, this is our town office. I would be very supportive of demolishing the back part, which is not historic, so that there would be less to, I'll say, shore up. I don't actually know the current condition of the town hall, but rather than having it totally demolished, I'd like to see it, you know, like, I don't even know if the right term is mothball, but just put together enough so that it doesn't get worse. I think once we get rid of it, if that is the decision, that we'll never get it back. And when we do something like that, it tends to just be over. So as you're making your deliberations, I hope that you really keep in mind the importance of our town's history, the importance of Vermont's history, and kind of dig deep to see if there's some way that doesn't cost, I understand the taxpayer issue, and I don't want it to cost the taxpayers a lot of money, but history's worth something, and I think our historic town hall is worth something.
Thank you, Ruth. Let me see if there's anybody else, Pauline, then I'll come back.
Tom Zolper, Center Street, Pownell resident. Kind of have mixed feelings. I didn't have all the figures in the background, but like emotionally, I'd like it saved and used. I think there's people in town that can use it, the seniors, the youth, others. But I understand there's practical aspects. On the one hand, you know, do you invest more money in something before you know how much need there is? On the other hand, you've already invested money in it. You know, do you just sort of let go of that investment? If you walk through the building, it's not dilapidated. It's not fallen down. I mean, there's been money put into that, and the systems are pretty sound. You're gonna have to spend more, but you know, to knock it down and just lose all that money, taxpayer money that's already been put into it, that's a practical aspect too. To me, it's like, what steps are you gonna do? To me, the first step is you gotta get some demonstrated need. So if the select board says, look, we gotta make this decision in whatever it is, a month, 2 months, 3 months. We need to hear some from specific groups who are gonna use this place. We gotta find a demonstrated need for this building that isn't met by the library, isn't met by the American Legion, whatever. If you get that, I think you have to support. I can't imagine that you can't get grant money to do a lot of the work. I don't think it's taxpayer money we're talking about completely. Now, maintenance is another thing. You know, you're gonna have maintenance of that building, but you got it already. So is there need? And you give it a deadline. If there isn't that need, you know, practically speaking, you gotta let it go. Then I think you try to sell it. I don't think you can put a whole lot of conditions on that sale, just because it's up to the buyer to decide what to do with it, but try to sell it. You know, then depending on what happens, you take the next step. If it's, you know, bought and someone turns it into a home or a business, something terrific, you know. If it sits on the real estate rolls for a year, then you got the next step you gotta think about. Maybe find a need. If there's no need, try to sell it, and then, you know, the step after that to be determined at that time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else in the room?
Yeah,
You state your name, please.
Frank Miller,
Thank you.
Smallville Road. I've spent a little bit of time reviewing the town plan as part of my future job. And I particularly looked at community resources and town hall and stuff like that as it was designed in the town plan and what it was calling for. And as this building was designed and promoted and executed, it was done so to provide for all of those community needs. At this point, this building is being underutilized. as far as the things that it can be used for, and it was designed to be used for. I think, if we're gonna talk about that other place as a place for community resources, we need to utilize this to its fullest potential first, and then see what there is for an overflow of needs. I heard that there wasn't a great call for a lot of community meetings and uses as it is right now. We have the resources already designed right here. Just needs to be utilized a little bit more. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room?
Jennifer Steele, Hidden Valley Road. I'm afraid I'm rather late and probably these questions were all answered, but it's my understanding that the old town hall sits partly on town land and partly on land to the house just beyond it. Is this true? And if so, would that affect the future sale of the town hall? Does anyone know about this?
I don't know I can't answer that with a positivity. But I don't believe that it does sit on anything but town-owned property. But please don't quote me on that until I was able to actually look at a survey. That's right, Jennifer.
It also has a water source and a septic system. Is that underneath the historic front part? I suppose it could be accessed by what remained if the back part was taken off. My concern is that a lavatory source is needed here. We at the church have rented a porta-john for our use because we have no plumbing. The skate park usually has a porta-john in season. And I am just wondering what future possibility there is for creating I think a public lavatory might be of more need than a coffee shop. But I don't know all the answers to those questions that would help figure that out. And that's all I'm putting in is that I guess it would be really nice if whatever happens to that old building becomes the solution to some problems. And I guess that's why we're all here. I have no determination to tear it down or sell it. I did have that question about a sale, whether there was a challenge of the land underneath it, that kind of thing, but taxpayer money might have to go into whatever happened if it created something that the entire town could benefit from. And I'm just okay with that. That's the way it works. So that's all I have to say or ask.
That's okay. Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else in the room? Pauline, you had a question. If there's nobody else that hasn't said anything.
Double online, is there anybody online?
No, I'm gonna go back to the room. That's how we did it last time. Go ahead, Pauline, sorry.
Okay, actually, my idea is if we were to sell that to for the appropriate business or whatever, and I would think it would be only appropriate for a business, that we use the funds that we could get from there to help fix the church. The church is getting more and more needy all the time. And I think it's really important to save the church and maybe someday get the steeple back on the church. I think overall, it would enhance this part of the village.
Thank you, Pauline. I didn't want to cut you off. I wanted to make sure you're done. Sorry. Ruth?
This is Ruth again. I just, the idea of like trying to assess need, making sure that there is a need to keep it if that's part of the equation. I think because it's that historical building and because things change all the time, there may not be a need today. and there may not be a deep need tomorrow, but there might be a need at some point that we can't quite see at this point. And if we take it away, we can't fulfill that need.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Anybody with their hands up, Tara?
I don't see any put their hands up, or maybe just ask them to either unmute or put their hand up.
If anyone in Zoom would like to comment, either unmute yourself, put your hands up, unmuting and then speaking would be fine. Just please state your name.
There are two people on, but I don't see anyone unmuting or hands up.
If there's. Okay. I think we've given them ample time to try to unmute or do whatever. Everyone feel comfortable with that? Any board members have any comments after today's hearing?
I'm Carl Strohmeyer. I am on the board, so I'm a Powell resident. I hear do this with the old town hall, do that. Why don't we just mothball it? Put it, secure it so that the future can have it. And if we come across a grant to fix it up, that'd be great. But other than that, we could mothball it. And because whatever we do with it, it's gonna cost a lot of money. If we're gonna sell it, it's gonna cost us a lot of money. If we start tearing things off of it, it's gonna cost us a lot of money. If we just mothball it, it's not gonna cost a lot of money. That's just my 2 cents.
And I believe that was not as a select board member that.
No, excuse me, you're correct. That is a citizen of East Pownell.
I just
know.
Carl, and everyone out there, I just want total transparency.
Yep.
That this is, at this point in time, I said a couple of things the other night and kind of, those were as a board member about trying to stop the regurgitation and some other things about what happened and different things. And I should have been clearer about that, and I apologize. If we are to speak as a board member, then I would like it,
As a citizen.
well, no, I'd like it as if you have something to say as a board member, state that. If it's as a resident of the town, then.
That's correct. It's just as a resident of the town.
I understand. And I could tell from just the comments, Carl, that's all. I just want, because like I said the other night, I'm going on my 6th year sitting on this board. And we have never had a discussion as a board outside of when the kitchenette was discussed or some other things in a public meeting. The select board has never discussed this in an executive session. We've never discussed it in the parking lot. We've never discussed it in here in this room with 3 board members. Now, there may have been 1 or 2 of us talking with each other or in a group where there was 2 board members. That's not illegal. We are allowed to do that. 3 board members constitute a quorum, and this is as much for people out watching is what's going on. To the best of my knowledge, that has never happened in the 5.5+ years that I've been here. And I have never experienced it, and I want that to be clear. So that was the only reason, Carl.
Yep, no problem.
That's all. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
No, I just wanted to be clear because we get accused of that stuff all the time and it just gets old, and I just wanted to be.
Joyce Held emailed me that she responded to the survey, so I'd like to get that really quick before we end.
Yep, that's fine. Thank you, Tara. And you have access to that?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So we'll let Tara read Joyce Held's response to the survey. And Joyce is a Pownell resident.
Why I should bring email sitting here.
Beware or be patient, please.
So this is from Ken and Joyce Held. Yes, they are both Pownell residents. Selling the Old Town office has been mentioned. Question, what would the town of Pownell lose if it sold the town office? Really think about that question. Put aside the first things that come to mind, such as some might say a moldy old building, a liability, etc. Others might say a historic piece of Pownell's property, history, and a chance to use the building for community activities, etc. I'd like for us all to think about what Center Street and Pownell holds for our town. It is the center of Pownell, the place where it began, the old cemetery, the old general store building, the Union House Tavern, the hotel, the church, the old school, now a part of the new town offices. Our town green, exclamation point. It's all there on Center Street. If the town were to sell the old town office, yes, we would lose a piece of history, but I feel more importantly, we would lose something of even greater value. The land it sits on. That piece of land is an important part of the town green. It is contributing piece to the landscape of the center. Stand on Center Street and just look up at it. If the town decided to sell the building, we would not only lose a building, but we would lose the right to protect the Pownell Center green. If the new owner wants to paint it an outrageous color, have never-ending tag sales, open a business that would take away from the looks and feel of the center, there would be nothing the town could do about it. I cringe just thinking about what could be in store for residents and visitors driving down Center Street if we let that piece of property go. We need to protect our image. We have already lost the steeple that played a very large part in the image of Pownell. Selling the Old Town office isn't just about parting with a building. It's about losing control over a vital piece of the town's identity and future. Preserving this property isn't just about history, it is about the future. It's about ensuring that Pownell Center remains a place of pride, a place where residents and visitors alike can see and feel the history, the story of the town. If protecting that space means keeping the Old Town office in town hands, then that's worth a serious consideration. Thank you.
Tara. Anyone else in the room? I'm gonna ask Zoom viewers one more time. Anyone has anything to say? Any board members? As a board member or as a private resident?
Well, I'll say as a board member, I really appreciate everyone who showed up in person and online today, who responded via email. It matters, and I really appreciate public participation, particularly like we've seen these last two meetings. So thank you, and I look forward to future meetings like this.
I agree with Jeannie 100%. So thank you, everybody that is showing interest in this and it showed up. So we got some good ideas and we've got some more homework that we have to do as a board, so.
Thank you, Jamie. I'd like to reiterate Jeannie and Jamie's comments. Thank you. Thank everyone for their participation. Via Zoom or in person. I hope everyone out there feels that we've handled this correctly at this time. I hope everyone feels that we handled it fairly and gave everyone a chance to speak their opinions. It was enlightening to be able to come in here with a couple of groups of people and actually just put your ideas out there and not get into an argument. We've seen that. Residents who have gone to board meetings in the past and different things, public hearings and stuff, we've seen it. And I, for one, appreciate the fact that everything was just really calm and cool and collected. There's a lot of passion in multiple directions, which is very obvious. It's very obvious that there's people that are very passionate about their ideas. That's what makes this country, right? You're able to have those passions about your ideas. That being said, there is no timeline on any decision on the town hall, the old town hall. This was something that I, just so that everyone in here, I don't know if you listen to this, if you were, Fred's gonna hear it again because I said it the other night. I proposed these public hearings. This was my idea. Because there is passion both ways, and social media is not a place to have that. In my estimation, it's not a place to have that. Your ideas out there, right? This is the place, this is the forum for it, just like what we're doing, right? Where we can get them out there, we can take notes, we can come back. If we come back in 2 months, we come back in 2 months. If we come back in 2 years, it doesn't matter. There is not a timeline specifically for this. I just wanted this board to get a feel for what the residents and taxpayers in the town feel. And it's kind of a pretty good mix. I'm gonna be totally honest, I was the other night. There's some ideas that popped up in here today that were different than the other night that I hadn't thought about. And I think that's a great result, right? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for multiple ideas, different things. So, I think it's been a huge success. We had great participation, love to see more, but I'm happy with what we have because it's definitely different than the norm. And I appreciate everyone who came out here today on the kind of a nasty rainy day for sure, but like I said, there's no timeline. We're not running down, there's not 5 seconds left on the clock and we got to figure out what we have to do with it. Okay, there just is not a timeline out there. It's just, we're trying to get some ideas.
You know what? Yeah, totally. And I agree. Obviously, there is no timeline, but I do think something that would be really helpful and what I'm hearing, and I think that we've heard in both meetings now, is that people in this town would like a definitive answer, which we can get to. Like whether or not it is severable from the rest of the town property. Like, I think we have to very clearly answer those questions. How would it be partitioned? How could it be partitioned if that was done for sale? Not saying that that's what I think we should do, but I do think that question keeps coming up and we don't seem to have a clear answer right now. So
We don't have an answer.
right, exactly. But that means we need clarity. We need to get an answer so that we can share that.
I think there was a bunch of questions that
Yeah.
came up in
Yeah.
the 2 nights, you know, on Thursday night and today. I think there's a bunch of questions that need to be answered for sure. And I know there's a couple of them that we're working on, in different ways. But I know that for sure, there's questions that need to be answered. And, thank you, everyone who's posed questions. Some of them, and moving forward, if someone has a question, I did state this earlier and I almost forgot it. Thank you for that. If someone has a question or a concern that they were not able to think of Thursday night or today, moving forward, please don't put it on social media and please ask us. Please ask the executive assistant. Send the questions to the executive assistant at townofpownell.org. We will answer those questions. We will post those questions on our Facebook page, our town website. We will post the answers with them. We will also give whoever sends the question, an individual answer. But questions will be posted, answers will be posted. Bear with us, it may take us a little time, especially the one about whether or not we can sever the property and whatever. That's gonna be a little tricky, for sure.
We will not, I guess that's, so I'm straight. We will not be answering questions posted on the open wild social media. The only questions we will answer are those questions that are sent via email to our executive secretary.
Or us.
Or us.
That's
What I
right.
want to get at is we're not going to turn around and answer the comment section of XY.
The wild west. It's
Yes.
out there, it's crazy. And
And I don't think we should.
if somebody's driving by here on a Tuesday afternoon at 2:30 and you have a question and it popped in your head, don't worry about emailing it. Pop in here and leave it with Tara. Write the question out. It doesn't necessarily have to come via email. If you're in here paying your sewer bill or whatever you're doing, if you have a question, ask it. And I keep looking around the room because to me, this is my audience. They are as well, but I'm more of an in-person kind of guy, so I apologize to everybody else, but, please just ask the questions. Whatever questions you have, and we'll find the answers.
And be respectful of it.
We'll find the answers.
Yeah.
That being said, if I don't have anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you again, everyone, for coming.
Thank you very much.